Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 86 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series. Today, want to mess around with big reactors a little bit. I feel like that sounds like a good time. And specific to that, I want to play with a computer program that will control our reactors for us. How cool does that sound? So there's, in the past, I've written my own computer control program. I'm not even going to lie a little bit when I tell you I don't feel like doing that. So I'm not gonna. It was fun when I did it that one time a long time ago, but it's actually a lot of work to write your own. I enjoyed doing it when I did it. I just don't feel like doing it again. Luckily, there is someone out there in the world of Minecraft Let's Play world stuff that has decided to make an open computers based big reactors / extreme reactors control program. I've not tested it in 1.12, so I actually have no idea if this is going to work. But this is another one of those let's see how it happens on camera things. It may be awesome or it might be catastrophic. Who knows? Time will tell. So, first things first, we're going to need an open computer, and then we're going to hook it up to our reactor and our turbine, and possibly see if we can somehow hook it up to our orb, without running a big long computer cable all the way out to the orb, because that would be annoying. And we'll see what happens. That sound like a plan? I think it sounds like a plan. So let's get to work. We're going to want to take a look at Open Computers today. So Open Computers is a mod that adds programmable Lua-based computers to the game. And you can program them and make them do all kinds of stuff. They can access the internet. They can, so they can like download stuff. They can post stuff. Like if you want to make an Open Computers program that posted to your Twitter feed, you could totally do it. It's cool. It has controllable robots that can go and like mine and dig and do stuff and place blocks and do all kinds of things. It's really a cool mod that I haven't personally spent enough time with because in general people don't like seeing computer-based stuff on this channel. I've found that a lot of the feedback is usually around like, we don't like seeing programming, Direwolf. And I get that. It's boring to watch somebody write code. It totally can be. So we are going to start off by basically seeing how to use open computers with programs that have already been written by other people, which I think will match the skill set of most of the viewers. Like obviously some of you guys probably know how to write code, but I'm sure there's a lot more of you that don't and would like to be able to play with open computers without knowing how to program. However, I will state that this is a great way to get into programming. So if you guys are a little bit interested in learning what programming is about and how to program, play with open computers. Just trust me. And don't think you can't do it, because I promise you that you can. I absolutely guarantee that you can. Play with it a little bit. Give it the time and effort required. Don't expect that after an hour of playing with open computers, you're going to go get a job at Microsoft. Might take 2 or 3 hours. But that said, let's get started with the episode. So there's a bunch of stuff in open computers that we need to get started doing. So let's teach some things, right? So first off, we're going to totally want to know how to make cables. So there's a few like prerequisites. So we're going to need cables. So we're going to want computer cases. There's tier 1, 2, and 3 for a lot of things. I'm just going to go straight to tier 3, right? Like forget tier 2 and all that nonsense. Like let's just get the best of the best, right? So to get this, we're also going to need a printed circuit board, which is going to be a processing recipe. So let's go ahead and get that. Boom. I'm going to put that down here in the smelting recipe. We'll turn off processing again. And then we're also going to need to know how to make a raw circuit board, which will be that. We're going to need how to make a microchip. Cool. You're going to need to know how to make diamond chips, which is this. And you're going to have to learn how to make cutting wire. I assume that this thing is one of those things that doesn't have to be used up a lot. I don't know. We'll see. You're going to have to know how to make transistors, right? So lots and lots of things. But teaching your refined storage system how to make all this stuff will probably go a long way towards being a little bit of fun. So refined storage. There you are. Cool. I knew that was going to come in handy someday. I'll fix that wall in a minute. So now, if we add open computers, I should be able to get a computer case. Hooray! All the things. Nice. So crafting. Done. We've got a computer case. Sweet! This is completely worthless and does nothing by itself. It is a waste of space. It is less useful than a cobblestone block when it is sitting there by itself, because there's a whole bunch of stuff you have to put inside of it to make it useful. So one of the things you're going to want to get along with this is a disk drive. That's going to be something you're going to want to place nearby. This disk drive you can put floppy disks into. It's going to come in handy in a moment. Cool. The other things we're going to need to do are to populate our computer with a bunch of stuff. So let's start looking at some of the cards that we can put in there. Let's see. So there's a card base. Some of these things, it's been a while since I played with this. So look at all these different things. You can make drones. That sounds cool. Ink cartridges, interweb, neat, microchips. That's cool. That's nice. I like it. Microcontroller case. I don't think these are the things that I need. So we're totally going to want tablet cases, transistors, analyzers. Look at all this cool stuff. Oh, by the way, there's a manual too. So like, you know, if you want, you can open up the manual and play with it a little bit and learn what's in there. Hey, here's some chips, right? Accelerated processing units. I don't think we need any of that stuff. CPUs. We're going to definitely want a CPU. This is going to be required. So let's get this thing taught to the system here. So you're going to need to know how to make that. I think I taught you how to make microchips, but I didn't teach this yet. And do you know how to make clocks? No, so you should probably learn how to make clocks. Cool. That sounds good to me. And then for CPU, we're going to need this thing. And I don't know if I taught you these yet, so you're going to learn how to make that. Cool. So in theory, you should be good to go. So now if we open, we can get our tier 3. And like I said, I'm just jumping to tier 3. There's different benefits to like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, that kind of stuff. But that should be cool. So CPU tier 3, sweet. Auto crafting. So you can kind of tell what you need to place in here by kind of looking at these different slots. Notice that, by the way, there's like a subtle highlighting thing that happens when you mouse over an inventory slot. And the same here. When you mouse over the chip, it knows which slot it's supposed to go into. So in general, there's like 3 generic upgrade cards that can go in there. So like those can be all kinds of different things. This is always a CPU here, and it can accept tier 3 because it's a tier 3 machine. And notice when I placed it in there, it got like a unique address, which is kind of cool. There's also memory chips, so we're going to totally want some memory. So let's go flipping through here and find where memory is. So there's memory tier 1, 2, 3, and you know up to 3.5. Again, more memory required for more complex computers, so you know that's a thing. But let's get like just the top tier. Why not, right? Do you know how to make these things? Probably not, but now you do. And do you know how to make the rest? Yeah, cool. So we'll pop this in here, and then we'll get. So there's 2 slots for memory, so why not just fill it up? Can't hurt. So we'll get 2 sets of these. Nice. 1, 2. And they can go right in there. So we're also going to need a disk drive. At least 1. More than 1 would be fine. But I'm going to go ahead and just do 1. So let's get a disk. We'll get the tier 3 one. That can store more storage, right? 4 megs versus 2 megs versus 1 meg. We'll go ahead and teach the recipes for disk die. So, so you need to know how to make disk platters. And anything else that you haven't learned yet? Microchips, tier 3. I think that's good. Yeah, let's do it. So I do have my Open Computers manual that was given to me when we started the game, by the way. That gets handed to you, you know, first thing. So, nice, a hard disk drive. Beautiful, that can go in there. So we're going to need to interact with this guy a little bit, right? So if we look at Open Computers again, the next thing we're probably going to want to get is a screen. Some kind of interactive way of, you know, working with this computer, as in being able to see what's displayed on it. So there's 1, 2, 3 tiers of screens. We'll go ahead and just get screen tier 3. That should be pretty cool. And screens can be multi-blocks, which is awesome. So we're going to get 1 screen for now, as we're just learning how computers work. But in a moment, we're going to do fancier stuff. Cool, so we've got a screen. Nice. Does that mean we can turn the computer on? Wah, wah, wah. Not enough energy. Totally need power. So that's a thing. There's things I'm doing on purpose wrong here, by the way, so you guys can learn a little bit about what's required. So let's get a little bit of juice flowing into you. Bing. And what you can also get from Open Computers is a device called an analyzer, which is down here. So you're just going to need a printed circuit board. I probably could have left this open thing here. Printed circuit board, that sounds cool. And start. There we go. And that'll also like help to tell you about like the last issue that you had and some other information about this thing. So now if we try to turn it on, error. And if you shift right click with this, no BIOS involved. Install a configured EEPROM. Cool. So EEPROMs are things you're going to need. There's one that's, I think you just need this one. And I think that's it, or do I need to actually put the Lua BIOS on it? So what's that error message saying? No BIOS found. Install configured EEPROM. So we have to add the Lua BIOS to this, which is easy. It's that plus the Open Computers manual, right? So I just combine these two, and we should be cool. Now we have a Lua-based thing. Now what's your problem? I know what the problem is. It's no bootable medium found. So we have no way to boot. So we put an empty disk drive in there. There's nothing on it. Like, it doesn't know how to boot up. So we're going to need a Lua-based operating system. And for that, we're going to want a disk drive. Cool. So let's get a floppy disk from Open Computers here. I believe it's this. Sweet. Just need one of you. Let's get like a stack of these guys. Even though we're crafting them on demand, but that's cool. And we need to add the Lua program to it. So to do that, the OpenOS operating system, we just combine it with another Open Computers manual, which is easy peasy enough to make. So now we've got an operating system that we can stick in the disk drive and power up the computer. How cool is that? It's booting up. So to interact with this computer, we're probably going to want a keyboard. That sounds smart. And I'm just going to stick it on the side of this Open Computer. As long as it's somewhere on the screen, we should be cool. So are you working or what? I'm not seeing a whole lot of working here. You know what I bet the problem is? I don't think we have a graphics card, do we? Yeah, we're going to need a graphics card. Let's teach you how to make one of those. So is that cool? Do you not have a card base? I don't think I taught you card bases yet. So graphics card will probably help this situation. You're missing, oh, memory tier 3. Oh, didn't I? Okay, that's right. I taught it tier 3.5. Graphics card, memory tier 3. That should be fine. So I believe the graphics card goes into one of those expansion slots that I showed you that's on the left of the UI there. So I'll let that thing craft up real quick. Grow, craft, and go. This guy goes in here, so that's one of the slots, and then let's boot it back up. Hey, look! We've got graphics! Hooray! It's a functioning computer. If you don't want to use the disk drive to boot up anymore, you can run, I believe it's just install, and hit yes. And this will install the OpenOS on the disk drive that's in the computer. So each of these components actually gets their own like address space and everything. So you can see like once we put them in here, like they all like are unique devices now. And I'm pretty sure, I'm assuming, it can't be anything else, that that's stored on MBT. So you can see like there's a big really long MBT string that you can't even see on the screen. But the OpenOS is now being installed on the computer from the disk drive, which means that going forward, we'll no longer need the disk drive. Installation complete, reboot now. I'm gonna say yes. And notice that it's no longer reading the disk drive. It did a little bit because it just like knew it was there, but I can even like remove the disk drive and power this guy off and back on, and he'll boot up just fine. And even a little bit faster because reading off the hard disk is faster than reading off the disk. How cool is that? So I'm going to power this dude down, and we're going to take all this stuff with us. That sounds cool, right? We're going to go down into the basement and get ready to do more things. Now, I've set up a screen space area here that's going to be 4 by 3. So that means in terms of screens, we're going to need 11 more, right? So we'll let those craft up real quick, and let's be prepared for what we're going to do here. So maybe right here can be where my computer is going to go. We're going to need some computer-y type stuff placed in here. All that stuff goes back in, including the hard drive. Are my screens done? They should probably be by now. Yay! A dozen screens. And like I said, screens totally form multi-block structures, which is cool. So a 4 by 3 is kind of a pretty standard screen size for things, and that's nifty, right? So we'll let that be the thing that we do. So now we've got that going, and if we power this dude up, not enough energy, that's right. We're gonna need some power here. I'd really like this to only feed the computer. One tile nearby, perfect. Sweet. So let's do that. Perfect. Power it up. Beautiful. we've got a computer. Totally forgot a little bit to put a keyboard on there, so let's do that. We'll just hide it in the back. It seems silly that the keyboard is hidden in the back, but as long as the keyboard is there somewhere, you can type. See? Awesome. All right, so we've got a computer. Nice. Now what? So if I'm a forward-thinking person, I'm going to go ahead and link the forum post that I found this big Reactors computer control program on in the description of this video, but I will probably forget to do that. But if you just search for big Reactors Open Computers control program, you'll find it pretty quickly. It's on the Open Computers forums. Long story short, I'm going to run a command in Open Computers here that will let me download the installer. How cool is that? So you can actually copy and paste into these open computers. So if you're copy and pasting something from on the internet, you can just hit the insert key on your keyboard and it'll do it. So this wget command will go out to the internet and download the installer that will install the big Reactors control program into the open computer here. This program requires an internet card to run though. So in order to do that, we're going to need an internet card. Good times. Let's teach you how to do internet cards. Because you can do all kinds of cool things with internet cards too. And to get an internet card, you're totally going to need an interweb. Makes sense to me. So, internet card. Check. FYI, access to the internet is a config option. In the Direwolf 20 pack, it is enabled true. If you're on a server somewhere, it may have been disabled. So just, if you can't access the internet, note that this is a config option that needs to be enabled. All right, let's run that program again. I might need to reboot. Oh, no, I don't. Sweet. Cool. So we downloaded the program to install the software. Now we're going to run that program, and it's going to install the Open Computers control factory. That's nifty, right? That's cool. I like that. So you can see it's literally running an install into this computer. Nice. If you want, you can reboot at this point. I think we could just like power off and on. You don't have to, I don't think. So now to run it, I think we have to do rc brgc reactor start, rc brgc turbine start. So that'll turn on the components that control the reactor and the turbine. Now, there's also a thing that you can do that will control a grid to be able to detect like when the power is full, and we don't need any more power. But we're going to skip that part for now, I think. And then we can open up the UI. I think it's just brgc GUI. Sweet! We have turbines. Now, these are touchscreenable computers, so you can, like, I think, just right-click on stuff. Maybe not. Yeah, cool. That's cool. I like that. See? So, like, we're not detecting any reactors. We're not detecting any grids. There's no things here, right? But that's pretty cool. I like that. Now, do we want to hook it up to a power grid? That's going to be the tricky part, right? Because my energy storage is not actually down here. I wish I could hook it up to my computer, but I don't know if there's any like wireless way to do that. Let me look into that real quick, because if I could hook it up to the orb that's up above my pyramid, that would be neat. So, crazy idea. I wonder if I can hook up a phantom face that would have the range to talk to my power orb and place the phantom face near my computer, and if the connection would work. So while I'm crafting the phantom face, let's make an adapter. Again, untested, not sure if it's going to work. This is one of those Dyer figures out what works episodes. So we're totally going to want some cables anyway. And then we're going to want one of you, which should be a quick craft. And an adapter. So an adapter is what allows an Open Computers computer to talk to non-Open Computers blocks. So adapters can actually talk to things like vanilla chests and furnaces and all kinds of other modded blocks. But we're going to have it talk to the draconic power orb up above our base, so that the computer can read how much power is in there and determine when to turn on and off the reactor. Cool, which would be great. But currently it means I would have to run these cables all the way up and outside and hook them into probably this guy. And that sounds terrible, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. I don't want to run cables like that, because that would look ugly in my base. But if I can phantom face it, that might work. So that's what I'm thinking, and that's what we're going to see. So are my boosters done yet? Yes, phantom boosters. Now, it doesn't actually say this in the game's documentation, but according to the wiki, a phantom face has a range of 16 blocks. But if you place a booster on top of the phantom face, it extends to 32 blocks. A second booster brings it up to 64, and a third booster brings it up to 128. So that means I should, in theory, be able to get that going. And I might want to try that. So we'll know it's working. So what I'm going to do is turn you off. If I still have this thing, you should be running out of power, which means the computer is going to shut down here in a moment, right? Computer should power off. There it goes. Goodbye, computer. No more RF. That's fine. Because what I'm going to want to do is get my phantom face here. And you're going to basically be placed here with boosters on you. And 3 boosters ought to do it. That sound cool? I'm going to move you. I want you to be here? Yeah, that feels like a better spot to me. So those 3 boosters should allow me now to hook this phantom face up to my reactor, or to my power orb, right? And it's the bottom one that does output. So if I block stored in this connector, and we bring this down to the phantom face, in theory, because I've got the boosters on there, we should be able to connect this guy. Connected to the energy pylon. Sweet. That says it has a lot of RF in it. That's cool. As long as that doesn't break nothing, that should be fine. So then if we get cabling, or flux ducts, right? Redstone energy flux ducts should be fine. You should have power again. Nice. That's cool. Now the real question is, will I be able to read the value in here? So for this to work, we're going to need an adapter to sit next to the phantom face. Normally this would be next to an energy storage device, but the phantom face is being the energy storage device for us. And then we run cables to it. So I'm going to reboot you, because I don't know if you need to be rebooted after you connect a new device. I don't know. You may or may not need to. I don't know. But let's see. So what I want to run now is, if I just run brgc control service all start, I think that starts all the things. And then bring up the GUI. Hey, wow, okay, cool. Look at that. We have a thing. Energy storage / energy max. So, good news and bad news. And I was worried this would happen as soon as I looked at the one probe's overlay. It's measuring that there's 2 billion RF in there, which is like a limited number. It's a big number. It's bad. It's no good. We're super close to this working. Unfortunately, it's limited by the amount of power. There's an upper limit to phantom faces, apparently. And the phantom face has gone beyond that limit because this thing is holding more than 2.1 billion. So that's kind of good and kind of bad. Wah, wah, wah. Oh well. We'll be right back. All right, it's time for plan B then, which kind of a bummer, I'm not going to lie. I wanted this to work where I could read the orb's power, but basically I have 2 options if I want it to work. Either move the orb into a sub-basement underneath this basement, so we'd have an orb beneath this. That could be cool. That might be neat. I'll think about that. But for now, what I'm going to do is have basically an intermediary. So what we're going to do is remove you, you, and you. And we are going to instead move you. Now, computer should probably be off because it's out of power. That's cool. We're going to instead have an intermediary step. Now, remember, these guys can only transfer 25,000 RF a tick, right? But I'm wondering if I enchant him. Enchantment applicator, is that the one I want? No, I probably want enchantment factory. You need a little bit more essence. This is the part where you get essence. Oh, you're not essence, are you? Essence, 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 essence. Do I have any essence? Let's get a tank. I've got essence. It's just in a tank somewhere downstairs. I should be able to do this real quick. Two types of essence. Good times. So that should work. Getting lost in my own museum around here. So there we go. Now we've got essence. Cool. Enchantment Factory. This should have worked, right? No? Isn't that the one that applies enchants? That strips enchants. Aren't you enchantable? Everybody kept posting comments that these energy cells are enchantable with holding. Everybody was telling me you can put holding on these guys. Holding 1. Yeah, so that should work, right? You would think. Maybe you need more essence? I wouldn't think so. I had a lot of feedback in the videos. Put holding on your energy cells. Yeah, I saw those comments. Maybe, there's the problem. Cool, holding 4. All right. So now does that also increase the amount of RF per tick you can transfer? No, that's what I was hoping it would do. So it can hold more power, it just can't transfer more power. Wah, wah, wah. Huh. Now I think that is 25,000 RF per tick per side. So what we could do, this in theory should work. You ready? I don't like it. I don't like anything about it. Yeah, if you could transfer more than 25,000, you'd be a solution there that I like, but you can't. So let me think for a minute. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the energy cell as a buffer in between open reactors, or extreme reactors, and yeah, that there. So that should be cool. So let's... I want you to be there. Erg. Erg. Let's do this. You're going to sit there. We will power this out. So let's configure the back will be blue. And the front will be orange, right? So what we'll do is we'll let power come in here and go out here. Cool. And then we can also... Yeah, it's a little dire wiry, isn't it? Yeah, that isn't so terrible. All right, so that should work. So you should have power now. So if I power you on, and we want to run those commands to start the computer. So RC, BR, GC. No, I want to do BRGC control service all start. That should start everything up. And then BRGC GUI, we should see, when we bring up the grid screen, 8.6 million RF out of a possible 150 million. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let this thing be a middleman. It will probably, maybe be getting power faster. Well, I think the computer might dial down the power production. Oh, look at that, energy demand. That's cool. It's measuring how much RF per tick is being used, which is probably what's being used by the computer. That's kind of neat. That's really cool. So let's see what the computer does once I hook up my turbines to it, and then we'll go from there. So I guess first things first, I'm going to turn you, disengage coils here for a sec, and just deactivate turbine, so he just stops doing anything. And I'm going to shut this guy down as well. So he should power off equally, and water will start filling up now, and you'll be doing your thing. So everybody's kind of settled down. We're not actually running anything. Let's connect our computers to these guys. So they each have computer hookup spots, and I'm pretty sure I just need to do that, and that literally is it. And you should recognize that you have a turbine now. Do you? Turbines? Hey, look at that, calibrating, sweet. He's calibrating his turbine. He detected he has a turbine, he's turning it on, and he's doing a thing. Let me hook you up to your reactor as well, so that you can calibrate that. So did I ever make a reactor computer port? Probably not. Let's get one of those. So we're going to want a reactor computer port. So you're going to need a repeater, reactor computer port, sweet. And we'll just plug you right into there. So now you should detect that you also have a reactor. Calibrating, sweet. So the first thing these guys are going to do is calibrate a little bit, right? And if we go to grid here, reactors, turbines, mode, holding charge, cool. Combined, calibrating. We want to probably hook this power line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect your line to here, and instead connect you with a basic to here that's set to output there. So now you're powering up the cell. Cool. And then what we'll do is we will have the cell's output, which needs this guy to be in input mode. I'm going to disconnect you for a minute because I don't want any confusion there. And then we're going to bind you. It's not super elegant, but we might wind up fixing that in a bit. For now, that should be cool, right? So what you should be doing is, sweet. Reactors and turbines are calibrating. Cool. Grid, looking neat. So I think they're going to calibrate a little bit here. And figure out where the fuel rods should be to get the most effective way. I think that's what calibrating is doing. So let's give that a few minutes and we'll be right back. See, yeah, look, calibrating, it's now up to 1 bucket per tick. So like it's figuring out how to do the fuel rods. So the computer is controlling the fuel rod going in and out, right? So it's like currently got some measurements here. Sweet. Pretty sure. Oh yeah, look, we're up to 2 buckets. Cool. So it already bumped it up to 2 buckets. So it figured out the optimal fuel rod solution. So it looks like calibrating is maybe done. Cool. It's still calibrating my turbine though. So we've gotten the reactor to the point where it's happy, and now it has to calibrate the turbine to get it happy. And that's what it's currently working on. Sweet. So basically the computer program is figuring out the most efficient way to run the reactor and the turbine together to get them to produce efficient amounts of power. So if we take a look here, we should see it probably found about the same sweet spot I did. A couple of them are 91% and a couple of them are 90%. So it adjusted all the fuel rods and did its thing itself. Because remember, every big reactor or extreme reactor can be different, so the computer program has to figure out, like, how do I get this reactor to behave properly? And that's pretty similar to the way my reactor program did in Computercraft way back in the day. So that's cool. This one's just a lot fancier looking. Cool. So mode is currently increasing charge. So I think what that means is that, well, the coils are engaged. So it is generating power. So that's neat. Cool. So this guy drained out pretty quickly, right? His current charge is 0.01%. But eventually, I suspect what we'll probably get to, and I might do this. I think this will work. If I get another IO crystal here, and and I set him to output. So this is 25,000 RF per side. So by doing this, technically we can accept more than 25,000 RF. We can accept 50,000 RF. Now we're only going to be outputting 25,000 RF, which means we're going to have a net gain inside the energy cell. So what's going to happen is the reactor will turn on, it'll eventually fill up the cell, and then once the cell's full, the reactor will turn off, but it'll continue filling the orb upstairs at close to the like 25,000 instead of like whatever. Now again, this was only producing at max like 23, so technically we're okay, but we'll see what happens. Neat. All right, cool. I could always like throttle this so it only outputs like 20,000. Just to demonstrate, right? And that would be cool. All right, so let's get the turbine. So it's still calibrating. Let's get that guy up to speed, and we'll be back in a few minutes. And I don't know if it's apparent to you guys, but the fact that like you can see there's like a whole tab for turbines might imply that this thing, and spoiler alert, it's totally the case, that you can have more than one turbine, and this computer program will be able to support more than one reactor and more than one turbine, which is something that my computer program never did do. So that's really cool. So this thing's still figuring itself out. We'll be back in a few minutes when it's done. Hey, cool. The turbine changed from calibrating to stable state. So that's pretty cool. So take a look here. So let me show you how this control program works. So you can see turbines, reactors, and total, right? So this is how much power we're getting out of reactors. Obviously none. This is how much power we're getting out of turbines. This is how much power we're getting total. Current mode is an increasing charge mode. We have 22 million out of 150 million stored in that energy cell downstairs. And that's what this little red bar represents. Cool. I don't 100% know what the charge button is, but I guess we'll figure it out. Charge, what do you do? I assume, I don't know, that does something. So that's grid display, right? Combined display shows you your reactors and turbines, or all your reactors and all your turbines. Same thing. You can click on either one of these to see information. So you can see this active reactor is currently online. It's in load mode. It's current heat, current generation, and output of buckets per tick, and fuel consumption. Cool. That's the reactor. The turbine is doing this, and that's cool, right? And then we could exit, right? We could turn on and off the reactor. So if we wanted to, like, we could just turn off the turbine. Boom, and it stops running. How cool is that? And we can turn it back on. And the same for the reactor if we wanted to do that. And we could just toggle the whole thing on and off. Boom, and that should turn everything off, in theory, I guess. So yeah, you're still online, but it just says off. Interesting. I assumed that would just turn everything off, but maybe not. Cool. So like if I turned off the reactor, that turns that off. Cool, and if I turn off the turbine, what does turning off the turbine do? Turning off the turbine both disengages the coil and deactivates the turbine. Good, that's what I would expect it to do. Now the grid still says on. So the grid is the energy grid. Okay, that's what that does. Cool, I got it. Okay, so I could turn this back on and the turbine back on, and they get running again. Cool. And the grid mode is telling me basically information. This is the grid, right? It's telling me information about that. So can I turn you, if I turn the grid off, what does that do? Does it just stop monitoring the grid? Or does it actually like, no, it just stops monitoring the grid, I guess. Okay, cool. All right, so I think that's wrapping up point for the episode. What I'll do is like cover up the walls here and make this room look a little bit nice. And now I have to decide what I want to do. I can either leave it like this, where we basically let this thing build up energy. And what'll happen is when the cell downstairs fills up, because I'm gonna let it fill up, because we're total producing around 23.7, right? You're gonna fill up because you're receiving 23.7, but you're only allowed to output 20. Okay, so in total, you're going to eventually fill up the internal buffer of this cell. And then it'll stop the reactors for a bit while the internal buffer empties. And then the reactors will turn back on. So we could leave it like that. Or if we wanted to be able to measure the amount of energy we actually have in the orb, which would be kind of cool, we're going to have to move our orb downstairs. Or we're going to have to run those cables up above the base, which I don't want to do. So I'll figure that out. But for now, Darryl20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Take it easy.